on Monday, November 18, 2013, immediately following the conference meeting.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're doing a roll call now. Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
Here.
Councilmember Corbett.
Here.
Councilmember Eason.
Here.
Councilmember Grant Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell. Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Present.
Also present, Madeline Smith, Deputy Municipal Clerk. Dan Smith, City Attorney. Marty Mays. Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Officer, and Margaret Amir from the Clerk's Office.
And also, just for the record, Councilwoman Grant Butler is sick this evening.
Okay, the requirement of NJSA 10:4-9 at set, the Sunshine Law, has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the Record Transcript on July 18, 2013. Posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk. The approval of the minutes for the previous meeting, we do not have them, so we don't need an approval. For reports, Clerk's Office for the month of October 2013, $238.45. Community service for the month of October was $10,533. Committee reports?
No reports from Finance Committee. Public Safety, are there any reports? Public Safety, is there any reports from Public Safety?
No report, sorry.
And I believe there's none from the Personnel Committee. No reports.
There are no reports for the constable. There are no OPA reports, and there were no communications or petitions. We're up to number 7 now, which is citizens' comments on general issues and agenda items. Pursuant to Section 4-10 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name in an audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 10 minutes. Also, the public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments.
Jeffrey Feld. No, I'm sorry. Bill Lewis.
Thank you very much. Couldn't let you get away. But you see I crossed out one side of that.
Yes, sir.
Most of what I have to say has to do with general items. Essentially, it spills over here because you're having a big to-do about the budget and the budget status. And the question that exists is, why are you asking questions about the budget when Mr. Lurch gets the same report that you get? But what does that mean? Well, last week, the mayor had a town meeting. It was historical. One reason is it was running in conjunction with Robert's Rules and Standard Agenda, which should be the model for any operation. But it touched on financial problems, and no one said a word. People were talking about spending money, and I'm saying, why are they talking about spending money? And you owe the court $495,000, and as of tonight, it's over $500,000. Nobody reported on that, and that's the kind of information that people need. How do they make a judgment if they're looking to you if you don't give them all the information? We don't have any money to spend for community centers. Furthermore, does anyone know about the cost of staffing those things? You got to pay for that. It's more people, more money. It's all a bunch of money. And you've got after-school programs through the Board of Ed, and for any community group, they can contact the Board of Ed and get the use of a school or a church or any other facility that they might find possible. So the thing is that you got to be careful what you're doing. If you had acted last time, you would have been ready tonight. You blew 2 weeks at least to take care of your financial problems. And let me tell you that you're burning money at a very rapid rate, and you still don't know where the heck you stand with regards to the open items with the court. Furthermore, one last thing about that. As I read it, and I read a lot, that's why I wear glasses. Blew my eyesight out. But the judge has the option of finding the lawyers personally or the town. I think the council ought to help them out. Send a resolution to the court and tell them to charge those lawyers personally, because it was not your fault, it was not the fault of the taxpayers that the city attorney and his lawyers couldn't get their information together and send it into the court. One way, shape, or fashion. Maybe they don't need it, I don't know. But the whole thing looks, fishy, and it goes back to questions I told you to ask of the candidates presented to you by the mayor for these various positions. And I don't know if you asked them or not, but you have a good idea of where you stand with some of these people. And maybe you have problems that could have been foreseen had you acted upon it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeffrey Feld?
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, a local businessman whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. As my custom, I posted various heads-up comments and questions on the www.nj.com public website. Preliminarily, as we start the holiday seasons in the next few days, weeks, please remember the people that are not as fortunate as us. Support the various charities that feed the homeless or give gifts during this holiday season. Also, tomorrow marks the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And there's a movement now that people should go read that speech. And I asked Jamie Anderson at the fire station to have a copy and let the kids read it rather than playing karaoke. So I ask everyone in the next few days to read the Gettysburg Address, where it was probably one of the greatest speeches until a speech that was given 50 years ago. But it talks about what our nation is founded on and our beliefs. So that ties into some of the discussions that we've been having tonight. We had to really consider the Open Public Meetings Act, OPRA, Section 411 of the Orange Administrative Code. Mr. Lewis made some references to the quality of legal services being rendered to the city, either by in-house or outside attorneys. You need to look at them. There were comments being made to me by judges about your counsel. They're very scary, these comments. When a judge asks one of the city's attorneys, how many years has he been practicing doing this type of law, you have a problem. And when a judge says to you, Mr. Feld, you're not getting assigned to the appellate division, I'm trying to make sure that a career prosecutor gets your cases. Those are serious warnings to the city. I raise that because there was an incident that occurred on Friday. When you released the agenda, I've got to look at the agenda packet with the clerk. She can talk about this. We looked at the resolution regarding the private sale to the Housing Authority. That's Resolution 390-213. At 4 o'clock on Friday, there's questions about, again, when that resolution was delivered. The resolution refers to 2 operative documents. They were not attached. The question comes, again, we always ask, how do operative redevelopment documents get to the clerk's office, get on the agenda, where the operative documents are not on them? I went across the hallway. I talked to Marty. I said, there's a new resolution. How did it happen? Marty, who's not an attorney, and I've been trying to warn Marty, he said he drafted that resolution.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
a lie.
I put it's a certification that's been put in court.
That's a lie.
So if it's a lie, it's a certification. I filed a certification, said what you did to me. We'll let a judge decide.
Mr.
But let me just say,
Okay,
let me
Mr.
just,
Phelps.
let me continue.
Mr.
Whether it's a
Phelps.
lie or not, a judge will make that
Mr.
determination.
Phelps, can you just stop for 1 second?
I'm just,
Stop, I'm just asking you.
no, I'm not going to stop. I have time to talk.
Mr. Feld, I'm giving you your time, but I'm asking you to stop for 1 second. Thank you. Continue, please.
All right. There's questions. Because Oprah's a great discovery device. Documents were introduced to me. On September 17th, this council approved changes to redevelopment agreements. There's a new paragraph 5.2 involved in it, where it talks about if pilots are going to be granted to the properties on redevelopment, they're going to be given under LIDL, not the HMFA statute. In addition, it's a discretionary act of this council. And when those documents were reduced to me, there's a last page attached, and it says who wrote that document. It was Mr. Mays' name. So we'll let a judge decide. In addition, it's a sale of property. There have been comments made to me, if you look at the neighboring jurisdictions like East Orange, how do they approve private sales of property in redevelopment area? They do by ordinance. They don't do by resolution. It's time for this council, you have a legislative research officer, ask him a legal opinion. What's the proper method to sell property that's owned by the city in a redevelopment area? Let him give an opinion. He also works for East Orange, and East Orange does it by ordinance. Why do we do it by resolution? 2 months ago, when we approved the first time the sale, Mr. Mays stood up here and he said he has the appraisals. I made an open request. It's 60 days. I still have not received copies of these appraisals. Because one of the duties of this council as fiduciaries, and under the statute, you have to determine the reasonableness of the purchase price. How do you do it if you don't have appraisal? How do you do it? We talked about uniformity, which is what Justice Holmes always suggested under planning. Something like this, which is done by statute, it has the method of approval. And you can ask yourself, and you can ask Mr. Mays, when we approved the sale of 540 Mitchell Street, why did we do that with ordinance, and why did we have an appraisal? Why, when we do sales of property to the Housing Authority, we do it by resolution and without appraisals? Those are questions that people need to have answers for. We need legal opinions. We'll also have the issue that's rising around now as who did we retain outside redevelopment counsel in this transaction? Why in transactions that don't involve the Housing Authority, McManus Scotland is involved in those redevelopment agreements and pilots, but when the Housing Authority they're not used? Is that a conflict of interest? Or is there appearance of impropriety? These are very serious issues that we have to consider. When you look at the resolution, look at the caption. There is an existing resolution approving a sale. Are you rescinding that prior resolution? You're not doing this legal document. One of the problems we're having, already we have 12 lawsuits. I don't want another one. I don't want 13. But if we can nip things in the bud, it's time to do it. If you haven't complied with the Open Public Meetings Act, if you haven't complied with Section 411 of the Administrative Code, if you haven't complied with the Local Lands and Buildings Law, if you haven't complied with local redevelopment law, it's time to say, let's take a time out. That's all I'm saying tonight, take a time out. If the documents were not attached, or if they were attached, when were they attached to your agreement? Because they weren't in the agenda packet, we need to know that. It's time to say documents should not be given to the council if they are lacking the operative document. It's time to stop this. We've had this problem since June 2007. The first time I appeared before this council, another administration asked the council to approve a redevelopment agreement that was not even attached to the document. It's time to move forward, not backwards, and that's what I think we are doing. Marty, it's no offense to you, Marty, but we have a history.
Mr.
It's
Feld,
time to
can you
protect
please address
yourselves.
the chair?
Excuse me?
Can you address the chair?
Council President Williams, we have a history. We need to stop it. We need to take a time out. There's also another issue we referred to today. We're talking about monies. The audit. This is an issue that was raised at the last time when we talked about pilot payments of Walter G. Based on the audit that was filed on September 3rd, They do not indicate that any payments were made to the city on the Walter G. Phase 1 and Phase 2 agreements. I'm just going by what the audit says. Why are we giving properties to an entity that owes us money? That's an issue, that's a fiduciary issue. People might say, if it's been paid, I'm just relying on the audit. I'm also relying on response.
Mr. Bell, you have 1 minute, sir.
Or, in conclusion, what I'm saying to you, regarding to the Housing Authority private sale ordinance, be prudent, be careful. Listen to the judges. Also listen to the legal advice that Mr. Tarver gave you in January when he wrote a legal opinion, when he talked about when you had to set the salaries. Anything dealing with finances has to be done by ordinance. What's the difference between a private sale, what's the difference between a pilot, and what's the difference between setting the salaries? They're all the same things. If it's a discretionary act, and under the Tort Claims Act and recent case law, discretionary legislative acts are done by ordinances. That's what I'm suggesting to you tonight.
Young Key, anything? Were they here? Young Key? Paul Lee? Left. Councilman Meeks, were they here tonight?
They were here, they left.
Okay.
Pending some discussion later.
Okay. Harold Johnson?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council President and council members. How's everybody?
Great.
Great. I didn't have an opportunity to be here at the last meeting at business in Philadelphia, but I just wanted to follow up on that the path that I was going with and trying to find out what was going on with the budget line item that was for NJ DOT 2012. And since that meeting, I believe at the last meeting, there was a resolution put forth to issue a contract for the development or for the repavement of several various streets that fell under NJ DOT 2012. And the reason, Council President, that I was concerned really is because of the time frame and the documents that I was reading. I was afraid that somewhere down the line that the Township of Orange was going to lose out on that allotment money, and because we was really under the gun on that. New Jersey Department of Transportation 2012 had a deadline according to the awards letter that was issued back in May 21st, 2012. And I'll read it, which, of course, it struck my mind at the time. It says, the construction contract must be awarded within 18 months from the date of the execution of this agreement. Failure to make an award by November the 10th, 2013, or to comply with the requirements of the municipal aid regulations will jeopardize the use of the state funds on this project. And this letter was signed in, it was actually issued to Mayor Hawkins on May 21st, 2012. And as you can see, according to my calculation, that resolution for construction, although it was one resolution already issued for engineering and so forth, it was baffling to me that we would actually have that construction resolution issued 2 business days prior to the expiration of something that was issued 18 months ago. That was my main concern. I may have been giving you guys a sales pitch, but the ultimate motive was to find out where this resolution was and why it was not being forthright and coming from the forth to the community. Now, on November the 6th, when that resolution was awarded, I know once the resolution is adopted by the council, it goes back to the clerk's office and people have to sign off on it and so forth, things of that nature. And within 2 business days, I think we need to be really assured that that this is not going to impact the loss of these funds. I think the council needs to be on top of it. I think the administration needs to be forthright with the citizens to make sure everybody's on par, that this NJ 2012 is actually going to be encumbered. We talking about 18 months and we doing something 2 days before what I perceive to be expiring. Also, when I'm reading the handbook,
Mr. Johnson, I just want to caution you, you have 5 minutes on general items and 5 minutes on agenda items. You have spent 4 minutes on general items.
gotcha. All right, I'm gonna actually give you a resolution on the back end. Okay. You kind of maybe lose my train of thought, but I just wanted to make sure that someone from the council or the finance committee can get reassurance from the administration that thing is going, New Jersey Transit DOT 2012 is going smooth and it's going to be applied, because me seeing it from a layperson standpoint, 2 days before it expires, after you having the documents for 18 months to execute it. And nobody actually gives us this information. We just assume that everything flows, okay? But according to New Jersey Department of Transportation...
I need you to move into your agenda item.
Okay, got you. I will take that up again next week at the next meeting. Resolution 298, 2013. It's a resolution awarding a not fair contract to a Remington.
98?
It's not a current one.
No, it has to be a current.
It has to be current?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then I've used up my time, and I'll be back to address this, of course.
See,
This is really serious.
Okay. Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening, Katalin Gordon, 211 Park Place. Actually, my concern, one of my concerns, ties in general terms and in particular terms into what Mr. Johnson was talking about. I have noticed, and I was very disappointed at the time when the best management practices were discussed and the form filled out and submitted, and that was the same night or one night after the deadline. Certain items on were kind of iffy. The council decided to say no, and we lost money. There are a number of deadlines. One was one that Mr. Johnson was talking about. I would be much more comfortable with how things flow here. Just like Mr. Johnson said, if we knew that things are going smoothly, they are anticipated. The council should be proactive about all the deadlines that are coming up, rather than responding them as they come. I would like to see this council creating a running list of items that are expected come year by year, applications for grants, deadlines, grants that have been approved and have a deadline of applying, all those things that are should be not surprising and should not come in for decision making the night or 2 nights before their deadline that has been anticipated for a whole year. Is that possible that the council would entertain such an action?
Ms. Gordon, I believe that this council is very proactive. It was the council who brought it to the administration's, brought it to their attention that the best practice had not been discussed. And even though you didn't see it done here, we had discussions with the administration, and that's why it was discussed on the floor. So we are proactive. There is a separation of powers, and it's unfortunate that things are not done in a more timely fashion, and I think that's one of our concerns, that we're constantly asking and re-asking for items to be brought to our attention, to be presented to us, in a more timely fashion. So we do agree with you, and I hear that getting a running list and presenting it to the administration, that is something that we can work on.
I am not really talking about representing it to the administration. I am talking about bringing, if you have a running list, you could and should bring it up every time for the public's knowledge that this item is 1 month away from being responded to and finished up. And so we have it should be above the board, all of this. Maybe you did, and we are under the impression that you didn't do your due diligence. Maybe you did, but we would like to see that.
Okay.
Thank you. Another issue that the bond funds. There is one bond fund that is on the agenda but is constantly tabled. There is another limited form of the same bond fund that is, if I am not mistaken, coming up next week, the next meeting. Is that correct?
We're not sure. We're in discussions.
Okay. It has been asked, I recall, especially by Ms. Murphy-Wilson, to provide details of the expenses listed on the original bond ordinance, the ordinance 32/2013, and the same logic goes for this new ordinance. We would like to see the large amounts broken down into what they would cover. And we would also like to see some kind of a option how it would compare an offer to lease the same items. So you get and we get some kind of a sense of the deal.
Okay, Ms. Gordon, I'm going to just, because you're spending your extra time limit on general
Yes,
items, but I will tell you the
okay.
specifics for the bond ordinance are in the clerk's office. There is a binder and copies can be made for you, but you have to move on to your agenda items. I'm sorry. There are specs in the clerk's office for the specifics, the breakdown for the.
There is a breakdown
Yes.
already in place.
Yes, it is.
Including lease option.
No, we can ask for the lease option.
Thank you. Okay, fine. I am curious what Ordinance 50, the vacating a portion of La Cabana Plaza, circa 5,000 square feet for the Galento Plaza project. Which area is that? Who owns it? What are the specifics?
Director Mays?
Yes, I'd like to ask Ms. Amelia Rideau to come up, and also Joe Pertelli from RPM to speak on that.
Ms. Amelia and Joe, can you please?
Maybe Joe, if you want to go first to try to just explain the basics.
They
Before
don't
he
matter.
speaks, I just really quickly wanted to let everybody know that it's discussed in the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement, which is one of the documents that you all have now.
Excuse me, what's your name?
My name is, I apologize, my name is Amelia Riddell. I'm with McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman. We serve as Special Redevelopment Counsel to the city on this particular project. But the vacation of that portion of the street, there's a map included in the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement, and again, it's one of the terms included therein. So Joe can give you specifics.
Hello,
Hi,
Joseph
Joe.
Portelli, RPM Development Group. How are you guys?
Great.
So quite simply, the vacation is just the next step in the development process that'll allow us to reconfigure the street according to our site plan. Now what's there is the sweeping curves and that triangle kind of configuration.
Excuse me, this is going on my time, I suppose.
But you asked the
I
question, you
did,
answered.
but it is not what I asked.
You,
I asked who, the ownership, the specifics of this area, not where it is, how it curves. Please use my time.
okay,
to
Ms.
this.
Gordon, I think he's just trying to give everybody where they're, so.
Okay, then it's not on my time, please.
Okay.
Okay, well, to answer the question directly, the street that's being vacated is not currently owned by any entity. It's a public right-of-way. And after the vacation, the vacation would be filed with the county, and the city would take ownership of this space.
Thank you.
So is it currently a
Ms.
county?
Gordon, if you can address it.
If I understood, is it currently owned by the county and in the future will be taken over by the city?
Yes.
And then it will be sold or it is still going to be a city area? I'm not clear at the end.
Can I
Okay.
answer that?
Yes, please.
So part of the project that the city approved way back when includes a reconfiguration of the plaza, and obviously the transfer of property either by ground lease or by fee to the designated developer in that area. So this portion of Lackawanna Plaza will, as Joe indicated, once it's vacated, the interest will go with the city, and then pursuant to the terms of the redevelopment agreement, which the city's already executed, they will be ground leased pursuant to a subdivision into the entity that's developing the plaza.
I'm sorry, Mr. Feld, your voice is carrying, so would you please have the conversation outside the room? I'm sorry, Amelia.
That's okay. So again, this is the first step in a series of steps that does include transfer of property and the development of that particular area. But it is the reconfiguration of the plaza. So there will be public right-of-way, but it's not as it's dictated today. It's a
So
different
is
configuration.
it going to be sold or leased?
So there's, under the terms of the redevelopment agreement, there's a portion that's going to be ground lease, there's a portion that's sold in fee, but the terms are set forth in the redevelopment agreement. I can give you a copy so you can see it. But the purchase price and/or the ground lease price are already set forth in the agreement. So again, this is just the first step in implementing something that we negotiated over the last year.
Thank you. The little time I left, I just want to comment on the prime point introduction and the palm in and clocking in. And I have heard in this introduction so many options that certain people don't have to palm in, others can just sign in through their computer from home, and again others can call in. This seems to be a very haphazard system of basically not giving everybody the same right of oversight. And I would like also to know if this clogged in or palmed in data is going to be available to the public as I have been known to submit Oprah request for a person's sign-in sheet, and would it be available to Oprah similarly?
Ms. Gordon, I think it's too soon. We're in the process of, that will be an implementation of this process, and we would have to write up policies to go along with the process. So I think at this point, it's too soon to tell.
But you should be, I'm bringing it up also, so you should be mindful of these questions
Yes.
when you do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart, Gloria Stewart? And Ms. Stewart, I'm sorry, I forgot to text you last night, but you made it.
Hello. Gloria Stewart, a resident of Orange. I missed a couple of meetings because I didn't have a clone to be at the other meeting that I needed to attend, so I had to decide which
We put
one.
it on the record.
All right, so it's good to be back, and as I sat and listened, things are still really the same, and I'm listening to the people that answered Mrs. Gordon's question. I just got like an eerie feeling that a lot of times we give away so much, and yet we're going through financial difficulties, and you're giving away your assets. That's the way I take it. And then the way the young lady headed off for questions is almost like, I don't want to say intentional grounding. She just didn't want to answer the question. There were certain things, you know, that was asked that they didn't give, that came with the legal terminology to stop you at your track. And I also believe that, and this is not part of the
Ms. Stewart, she just gave you 2 forms of transfer of property. That's
Okay, I understand, but within that, you still didn't get the answer that perhaps was being asked, transferring the property, and, you know, it's like, to me, you're giving away certain things. And when it comes to those apartments over there, I have personally a problem with it because they're so close together. It's like you can see into the other person's apartment. That's just a way of expressing it. Or you could take one hand and reach into it. That's how close they are. But I just want to sort of move on. And I guess the other thing, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm not as organized in terms of what's on the agenda and what's not. But I want to just say I wish the mayor would be here. And I always say that to all the administration, the mayors from the past needs to be here, so when questions come up, they can be, you know, sort of halfway answered. Then on a positive note, I want to say that there are lights now under the train station. I noticed it, and I like went, wow, as I passed under. You know, it was nice and bright. And I think it was Mr. Hathaway always sort of plugged in for those lights to be, you know, put there for the safety of the people. I just wanted to give you that positive feedback. In terms of, and I want to go to this, and it's kind of troubling to me. Mr. Mapp is now the acting BA.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm wondering what's going on, because for the longest it's been acting, and I think we need someone to be like really permanent, and I don't know where you're going with that. And then as it relates to him, he's not here, but oh well. The thing is, if he is, and this is my personal take, has been elected to be mayor of another city, and I'm thinking of conflict of interest, and I want to just drive home this point. We were talking about monies, and this letter has gone out to some of the employees in terms of giving back days free, and it says, in an effort to meet the growing demands due to uncontrollable mandate, cost increases and revenue reduction, I'm asking that you voluntarily agree to give back to the city. And this is, you know, from the employees. So my thing is, how would you ask for, especially the lower totem pole people, to give back, you know, a day, 3 days of their pay? And I think that's really inconsiderate, because you could take your higher-ups, and maybe they could just take 1 day and will make up for the 3 days that one person like me would, you know, what I would make to give you money back. And so I was saying this was unconscionable, but give you another example. When I pay $650 for 200 gallons of oil, that person or that company is not going to say, we can't do that, or you have a discount. So when you ask people like this, that's working hard to give back, I don't even think that's fair to those people, and that shouldn't even be considered. Take a day from the ones who's really making the big bucks to do that. And I just wanted to mention that because that was like, I just got all upset in reading that. And I know because where I work, and it's my choice, I don't get paid a whole lot in my position, but I'm saying I do it, I love what I do, and your maid would probably make more than what I get paid. I just wanted to, that's just to give you a feel of how I feel
And
about.
Ms. Stewart, I know you'll be back on December 3rd to continue your general comments.
Yes,
We're going to
well-
your agenda, but I will tell you, preaching to the choir right now.
Okay, all right. And so since I'm looking at the agenda items, you and another council person is going to be on the Housing Authority voted on that. So I want to just say, and I've spoken to you about the debris in Oakwood's property around there. It has not been cleaned yet. And this is an elementary school.
Yes.
You have your pre-K there. And I think it's deplorable. And I've spoken to both the school district, and they're passing the buck. They said that, I think it's owned by the school, but the fence that the debris is caught up in needs to be removed. I don't care who does it, it's about the children and the condition. I'm working with the city, the school, to get some changes, because this is in our neighborhood. You're evaluating, the properties, and so if the people are going to move there, they need to be able to look up and say, wow, in terms of the school building. So I just wanted to put that in. Now, there was something else about, on the agenda item, sort of lost my, the one concerning, and I don't know if it's a personal issue, something to do with the attorney Hackett, you're pulling that off?
No, that's been tabled, Ms. Stewart.
Okay, but the recommendation is not to, and I just want to,
Not to what?
I'm thinking not to approve it. You said it's been tabled, and,
it's been tabled.
okay. But I just want to still speak on it in terms of, I'm hoping
Yeah,
that,
it's a table matter, Ms. Stewart.
but
It's a table
I
matter.
still should be able to speak on it, because as a resident, you're going to make the final decision.
It's a table matter, not till we continue.
But you're going to lift it from the table, and I won't have that opportunity to address my concern as it relates to that. But anyway, like you said, I can come back.
And I can, and the chair.
And the other thing-
And the chair has the privilege to suspend the rules if we remove it from the table.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing is, we have a legislative research officer. We have an attorney here. When things come up, I'd like to see them be a little more proactive in terms of what's going on here, because other than that, we don't need them here. They need to react and give the legal opinion, because God knows I don't. And I always said that if I were to be reincarnated, I would come back as an attorney, so I would know some of the answers to what, you're asking. Two other things, and this has to do with street signs.
You gotta come back to, it's not, you're on your general, you're on your agenda.
Okay. I'm trying to see how I can do that. I don't have the time to decide how to do that, but, I don't want to be in contempt of your position as it relates
I
to...
want to move, because you have people behind you and time.
Okay, all right. So you're saying my 10 minutes are almost over. Suppose I choose to use 7 for...
You have 5 minutes on the agenda.
Okay, but it didn't say that I can use my 10 minutes now. You're forming the rules, determining how my...
It says
Okay.
5-minute agenda.
But
item 5. It doesn't-
I'm looking at the bottom line, 10 minutes, okay? Because I might not have 5 minutes for agenda items. I might have more for the other one, but at least you allow me my 10 minutes. So that's food for thought for you. And I
No,
guess
it would be the modification of the ordinance, because the ordinance speaks to 5 minutes for
Okay,
agenda,
all
5
right.
minutes.
As long as you give that some consideration in terms of the 10 minutes, however I want to eat my ice cream, I should be able to eat that. Okay, that's just to give you, a scenario I feel about.
Some more food for thought.
Food for thought, yes, and how you gonna use it. But, and one other thing, it's not on the agenda, proactive about pedestrians walking at night. Because on my way here, I know that's not on it, You know, I just saw a person died across the road. He could have been hit, you know, going freeway, I think it's west. So I know you can't legislate, but if there's some way we can be proactive to pedestrians, please be cautious. When you're driving, it's difficult, especially at night.
Yes.
So I just want to leave that in.
We'll see you December 3rd.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
You tried to make a video slide.
Kim Randall. Is the Captain Dunn still here? You kept, oh, thank you. Ms. Kim.
Good night, whatever it is, 10 o'clock at night almost. I'm Kim Randall, I'm a resident of Orange. I spoke at the last meeting, I think in September, regarding an incident that happened where I live at. Now I'm back here because although this happened actually now, it's still been not even been 6 months since that incident happened. You know, the fact is, I can't park in front of my door where I live at, and I'm like forced to park in the back because I keep getting the parking tickets from the police that show up some miraculously at 2 o'clock in the morning. But when I come home from work, I don't see any form of police anywhere around, and then I got to do my own policing before I go in. And then last week I got another parking ticket. And I go to, you know, I've gone to the judge, and he usually throws him out after I tell him what happened, give him the rundown. I told him I've been coming to this council meetings. He said, I think you're going in the right direction. See what else they can do, you know, rather than keep giving you the parking ticket. Because I don't see why I can't park right in front of my door where I can go right in, as opposed to keep going in the back, which has 4 open entrances. Anybody could just walk in. There's no, it's like a dog. You know the dog bites, you're not going to keep putting your hand in the mouth of the dog. So it makes no sense for me to keep going back in the back. There's people hiding behind dumpsters. There's a dumpster back there that's hiding back there. I don't want to keep putting myself in jeopardy, and I don't want to hurt anybody, because now what I'm doing, by the time I get home, like last night I got home late. I said, damn, I'm home late again, excuse me. I stopped, went in the front because I know I can't park in the front. Went upstairs first, got my hammer and my knife, and I go back around, circle around, then park. And I don't want to hit somebody that may not be hitting, because, you know, I might jump. You know, if I see somebody walking toward me, I'm going to smack the heck out of them with that hammer, probably.
Randy, you got
Point of order. Can she just tell her what areas? We don't know what she's talking about. What area?
Ms. Randall was here before, and she had an incident where she was mugged, and she talked about it. And you had an opportunity to talk to Director Sims.
But I wasn't here, so I want to know the location where she's talking about.
491 Valley Street. It's right off of Nassau and Union. And the problem is they have the silly sign that says you can't park from Sunday to Wednesday. I just don't understand why you can't. And I don't see any street sweepers come through there at all. And according to the super at 493, he says he does all the cleaning. And I believe him, because that area is commingled with West Orange. If you go down the block, I mean, when they had the big snowstorm, they shoveled up to West Orange, and then the rest of it was unshoveled with the snow. So I'm sure that there's nobody coming around with a sanitation truck.
Did you and Director Sims talk last week? At the last meeting, I'm sorry.
Oh, the last meeting? No, I had to leave the very last one that I came to. I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Council President,
Councilman Corbett?
I would like to give her my card, and then she can call me, or I can call her. We can set something out with the police department. Maybe we'll go by her residence and see what's going on.
Okay, and this
so
has been
forth.
going on for a while, so yes. Okay.
And can I just add one other thing? I don't know if this would be for you guys at the council or who I could get in touch with. And this is regarding the incident altogether. For whatever reason, when I had gone over to the Orange Police Department and they wrote up the so-called charges, the actual 2 individuals, the defendants, never got charged with those charges. And according to what I went today, they had a court date. I was down at Essex County Courthouse, and I talked to the prosecutor. According to him, this is the first time I heard it, because I kept saying, how come they didn't get charged for the robbery and the firearm and the carjacking? And now they're telling me, well, instead of doing a lineup, they did what they call a show up, which the guys were handcuffed. So I want to know, is this a botch from the Orange Police Department?
Attorney Smith, do you want to have a discussion with Ms. Randall about the case? You want to talk? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Do you want to have a discussion with her? Okay. We would have to talk to you about that because it's an ongoing case. Could you step up? Sure. Okay, she'll talk to you, okay? And you can get that.
Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Ingrid Williams?
Hi, I'm Ingrid Williams. I'm an Orange resident. I'm back. I was here the last meeting. I addressed you guys with regards to the closing of the Orange Public Library.
Yes.
I wanted to just thank you guys for allowing me the time to speak, and I also wanted to thank the members of the council that actually joined us at the board meeting for the library. But what I really wanted to talk about was from that meeting, there was discussion of some matching grants that the library had received, I think it was back in 2005 and 2006, that is set to expire for 2014. And I think that amount is about $750,000. So I would just ask the council if you can please consider, I don't know where we're at with the bond ordinances, and I understand that, there's funds that's wrapped up into one big, huge, thing, but if we could possibly consider a separate bond ordinance for the library itself, maybe to move those projects along?
Ms. Williams, the grant that has been renewed several times by the state, it's not a grant that has to be used in its entirety. It can be used if, I gave an example, if the roof costs $100,000 and we take $50,000 from the grant, we can use $50,000 to match it. So you can, draw down on the grant. And there are funds there so when it's represented that the funds are not there, there are funds that are not there, especially because the building is closed. And I believe there was, and Councilman Marable, I believe there were, because you're kind of liaison with the library, was there a surplus of funds last year with the library? And I know we budget, Councilman Marable, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not aware of any surplus.
We didn't use the amount totally budgeted for the in 2012 budget for the library, and we budget over the amount that we're mandated to budget.
That's a different statement.
No, I know. I'm saying that we didn't use the entire amount because of certain circumstances, and then we also budget. We allocate more than is needed, and the allocation of those funds are in consideration of projects that they're working on. So there's no communication as to what needs to be done at the library. So it's not, the bond ordinance is something that we need to work on, but that's not the end-all answer to everything, because there has been funds drawn down on that grant. It needs to have a plan in place, and they need to work that plan. Okay. And we need to stop, and that's the unfortunate part. Okay.
And I just, on the library issue, I know it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to just kind of, whoever's in charge of the finances, it really was disturbing to find out that money was not, no matter how small, others thought that money from the state is. In my household, every penny counts. But if someone could just look into if there was actually a 2012 annual report submitted to the chief financial officer of the city, because from the state, there's a copy of the annual report that's supposed to be submitted to the New Jersey State Librarian to be considered for state funds, and then there's one that's also supposed to be submitted to the chief financial officer of the city of Orange. And the information that I received was that there was no 2012 annual report submitted by the Orange Public Library
to the state,
to the New Jersey State Librarian, and I just would like to know if there was one submitted to the actual city of Orange for 2012. As far as agenda items, I just had a couple of suggestions for you to think about. As far as the new payroll system, I do have an HR background, so I'm always intrigued with payroll systems. I just would like to ask you or to bring to your attention a couple of things. I really do think that a standard payroll system would be beneficial to the city, especially if there is a problem with documenting paid time off, because then that becomes a loss to you. How do you know that people that are submitting vacation time actually have it now? If you can't produce it to the payroll company, you have people submitting vacation requests, personal day requests, sick day requests, and you don't even really know if they have those days. So it would be, I feel like, in the best interest of the city to, if you haven't done it already, to begin that process sooner rather than later. And if there is no way of tracking it, maybe there is something that can be rolled out to management to have their employees submit to them the time that they think they have. Because right now, that's really all you have to go on. So maybe by a certain time, all my managers and employees, and have the employees sign off on the time that they're stating, or whatever the manager uses to track, that this is, I attest that this is my time, and that's the time that gets used for the implementation of the system. If you don't have a system in place, if you don't have a spreadsheet tracking it right now to date, and if that's been an ongoing issue, you'll never have an accurate accounting for that time. And as, for a taxpayer, it's like, now it's a waste of money. You're just paying people for things that they don't have. I also wanted to ask about the salt. I live on Valley Street, and I think that is like the forgotten street in Orange when it comes to snow and salt removal. And now that I know the salt comes from East Orange, I can probably understand why it takes 3 days for them to shovel the salt down there. But I just wanted to know what is the cost savings of contracting that out when I feel like when it becomes a big storm, then now you're held hostage to another town allowing us to have some salt, and that poses a problem. What if they have shorted their order? What if it's a big snowstorm and they don't have enough?
Director Mays?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Those are the questions that we ask ourselves too. And if you look at the agenda, we actually have two agreements that we entering into tonight. One with East Orange and then a backup. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we keep hearing the cost savings. We're not even there yet in Orange because we don't have a salt dome. And
Right.
One of the things about the salt, it has to be stored properly or it's not effective. So
Right. So I guess in my mind, it becomes initially, yes, it might be an expense to create whatever storage that you need, but it becomes a difference between like rent versus owned. Is it better to just do it bang it out that one time rather than all these different contracts and then crippling yourself if ever it comes into an emergency situation? That's just, food for thought, I guess. My next,
I'm not even hungry anymore.
the next thing I wanted to comment on.
1 second.
Oh, I'm
One
sorry.
thing you didn't explain is we don't have a facility to house salt.
we don't
Well, that's
have
what she just said. That's what she
we
said.
don't have a salt dome.
Yeah, I
That's the
know.
major
And that's what she
problem.
said. That's why it's better for us to go purchase.
I'm just saying you might want to look into, like, once you have gotten past the initial, erection of a salt dome, what would be your savings once you have that? Yes, there's going to be a small, an expense.
Right.
We know that. But when it comes to just the, sometimes the expense, it's in the logistics kind of don't add up. So logistically, if it's better for you to, have that expense, it might be something you want to research. My next one is 396-
Ms. Williams, you're going to be Councilwoman East's favorite person. That's her baby. That's what we're-
213. Well, we can work on it.
Which number? I'm sorry.
396-213, with respect to Councilman Hassan Abdul Rashid and Donna K. Williams as liaisons to the Housing Authority. I just wanted to urge you guys, as you begin to develop and continue development with the Housing Authority, as well as all the outside contractors for Housing Authority. I've had the pleasure of serving as social services coordinator for several of housing development units in another city. And I would just like you to be very conscious of the social services that, when they come up for bid, that are being offered by the management companies. Our urban communities are getting really cherry-picked for their prime real estate. You know, there's no more really land to build, so come back, redevelop, throw up a nice-looking building, multi-million-dollar, you know, it's like, you know, sometimes it's a lot of flash. And it's really great. It's great to have people have quality housing that they can live in. But if you're not rehabilitating the minds and all of those things, then it becomes kind of useless. So I just wanted to bring to your attention, as you're coordinating with the housing authorities and as you're looking through the contracts, please be very mindful of the social services components that come along with them that they're going to offer the people that are going to reside within those developments, and really dig down and make sure that they're going to be the programs that actually produce something and not just a nice outline for what's on the paper.
I will tell you, both Councilman Hassan Abdul Rashid and myself have served as commissioners on the Housing Authority. He's actually, after tonight, he's going to be the primary liaison to the Housing Authority.
If the resolution is approved.
Okay, you got my vote.
You got her vote. Councilwoman Easton said you don't have a vote.
I'm voting no.
But I would encourage you to actually get his card and see if you can actually choose to attend one of the meetings and just see some of the projects they're working on.
Okay. I think that's it for me for today. I thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
A motion to close citizens' comments. Moved by Councilwoman Jones-Bell, second by Councilman Corbett. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, moving on to council comments. Councilman Marable.
Thank you, Council President. Earlier, we heard the presentation from Tyler Technologies, and I believe the gentleman who spoke said something to the effect that many people don't want to give them access to their homes. I certainly understand and respect the right of people to do what they want with their own homes, but residents really need to understand that the result is less likely to be accurate if you do not give them access to your homes. They certainly came into my home. They didn't come in with a white glove or a camera or, you know, invade my privacy. It was a pretty innocuous visit, but I really would just want to urge residents, as we, turn third base to home with this process, that if you have trepidations about giving them access to your home, that you err on the side of giving them access in the hope and I think the belief that the outcome will be more accurate ultimately, and you'll be more satisfied. There's been a lot of conversation tonight about also the Prime Point presentation, and if I'm just hearing correctly, there's some reservation, trepidation on the part of some council members to approve it because the policy piece is not in place, and it's unclear to some who's going to be affected or who's going to be asked to comply and to what extent. The reality is that's no different than what's going on now. And I don't know if there's any system that's going to guarantee or ensure that it's enforced from top to bottom, this or any other system. What I do like about it is that it's more flexible. I like that there's at least some mechanism other than pieces of paper to track the majority of employees, because I say the majority because I don't think it will ever be the entirety of the workforce in the city. I just don't get that sense from it. But when there's discussion of layoffs and the like, the lowest rungs on the ladder get hit first and hardest, I suspect it's going to be most applicable to the people who come to work every day and work hard and are here for the most part. And it also represents a cost savings, which to me is significant. So the notion that we hold off on it until such time as we get a policy in place or we have some statement as to who it's going to apply to, that could change overnight, even if it's in place, or it could be applied in a disparate way. So I actually do like it. I hope the council will vote for it. You know, one of the biggest marketing campaigns ever, several of them actually, had to do with Michael Jordan. You know, this notion that if you wore the shoes he wore, you could do what he did. If you drank the same Gatorade that he did, you could do what he did. But it wasn't the Gatorade or the shoes, it was Michael Jordan. And in this case, it's not the PowerPoint technology or the, you know, machine that they use. It's the intent of the people in charge to make it work, be fair and equitable to everyone. And that's really all that matters. You know, is it coming in to meet our needs, to allow us to expand and grow? The thing that I'm most concerned about, I mentioned earlier this notion that there is no clear starting point for the data. Where someone is relatively new or has been an employee for a short period of time, it may not be difficult to go back and backtrack how much time they should have had and how much time they may have used, and perhaps come to a negotiated agreement. Where people have been here 20 years through numerous administrations, it's very unclear. And the problem is not in the short term, the problem is when retirement hits, when their hand is out looking for a check of $20,000 or $30,000, and we don't know how much they're owed. That's the problem. And again, whether it's Prime Point or another company, it's incumbent upon us to be accurate and consistent with that information, but we can't turn our backs on a reasonable company who provides a good service because our house is not in order. This has, as I said earlier, been an issue with our audit for years. And if you recall, the council had contemplated a retirement discussion regarding someone who I won't name earlier this year. And I believe Councilwoman Easton, you had asked repeatedly, what is the person's time? What is the person's time? What is the person's time? And did you ever get an accurate answer? I mean, I know you got an answer finally after some extended period of time. But I don't know if you ever got an answer that, you know, everyone agrees is accurate and correct. And that's reflective of the landscape here, this notion that people who have been here for long periods of time, and there are many, we don't have a clue. And we can't produce it upon request, on demand, or even with some advance notice that we're going to want it from someone such as the auditor. So that's not going to change unless we change it, but the company, I think, is a good company. I hope we'll embrace it. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Marable. Councilman Rashid.
We've had many public forums with respect to major developments. We've had public forums relative to reeval and so forth and so on. We've even had public forums relative to the Orange School District. Now, unless I missed it, we've never had a public forum to explain to the citizens of Orange in an organized manner as to why the library is closed. The young lady that came here, who came here 2 weeks ago, said that she didn't even know that the library was closed, even though she certainly appears to be a very well-informed, articulate, educated young lady. She had a daughter or son here the last time. She didn't even know the library was closed, which a lot of citizens from the time it was closed, even prior to her comments, for whatever reason, didn't know that the library was closed, let alone why it was closed. And I think the reason that it was closed should be presented by the library board, since they had the power, all be all, to close it. So I don't expect my colleagues to listen to me, but I'm just going to make a suggestion, Council President, you or the council and or Councilman Marable, since he's the liaison, if you feel it's appropriate, that perhaps, even though it's somewhat several months down the road and these questions continue to erupt, that we could simply have an organized presentation by the library board, however it's set up, to explain to the citizens why they closed the library board. So, Council President, if you could reach out, perhaps Ed Marable, sir, if you think it's appropriate. And lastly, if all else fails, Council President, through you to Mr. Mays, I don't even know who we reach out to on the library board. If you could figure that out, Mr. Mays, with all due respect, could you reach out to whomever on the library board side and ask them if they would consider a public forum? If not, so be it. With respect, Council President, through you to Mr. Harris, if you could present Mr. Harris when you get an opportunity.
Sir.
If you could approach the honorable podium. With respect to table items and what can be discussed, I'm not getting into a lengthy discussion, but certainly from the council perspective, if an item isn't lifted, then we can't discuss it, which to some extent, I'd agree with that. I'm overruled, no problem. There's been many times citizens have come up and spoke with respect to personnel matters. For instance, where is Dwight Mitchell? They've said all they had to say, but then when they asked the question to the council, whomever, appropriately said it's a personnel matter. But that didn't stop the citizens on that side to simply express themselves, ask a question, if so, get rejected. So in that same stretch of vein, I don't know why a citizen can't come and discuss or inquire about or give their comments relative to Michael Hackett without saying we can't discuss that, it's a table matter. Many times we've let them discuss many personnel issues in terms of expressing themselves, but then again, if it came to us, we said it was. So can you distinguish for me what would be the criteria that a citizen could come up here and ask, or not ask, share their thoughts on an item that may be tabled versus that they can't even comment on? And they're not even elected officials or involved in the law process, except for the fact they're going to pay the lawsuit bill.
Good evening, members of council. Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Officer. Councilman, in response to your question, I'm somewhat, I mean, and I looked at Mr. Smith tonight when the young lady in question made her comments, and the council president informed her that the issue was tabled. And I'm inclined to agree with her position that if you agree as a council body to remove it from the table, she does have the discretion to suspend the rules and then allow discussion on it by members of the public and things like that. But absent a vote by the council body as a whole to remove it from the table, it's something that cannot be discussed at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, I wasn't saying that the council or council president did anything wrong.
No, I understand.
I just wanted you to comment on that, and you so did eloquently. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Moving right along, council president, through you to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, could you?
He's not here. He's outside the hallway.
Okay, well, would you please, sir?
He's looking this way. You see that kid?
He's talking to the,
Okay, no problem. Mr. Council President, through you to Mr. Mays, and you may not be cognizant of this, but I was talking to Mr. Mapp in his office, and I told him that I thought, even though it was a $ attached to repairing it, that I thought that it was just incumbent for us to have the phone system in City Hall repaired. Here's why. A senior citizen calls any department 7 days a week, 24 hours a day about a relative issue, and not once can she get an answer. I mean, she can't even get a voicemail to leave a message. So with all of the negativity that's said about the administration and the council, if we can't even provide a voicemail phone system at some point in time, which to me has been going on for 3 months, can you just imagine the frustration of any citizen, whether they're a senior citizen, 18 years old, whatever. So Mr. Mapp reached out to Keisha Knight to begin to assess what it would cost to get the phone bill in City Hall fixed. I'm not talking about perks. I'm talking about a voicemail system. As you know, we have a heat line coming into play if it's not already in effect. So how can a citizen call and say, can somebody come to my apartment on the weekend if the voice doesn't work? I mean, let alone the vendors in Trenton and Obama calling in. So could you let me know, do you know any of the status of, and I'm telling you, Mr. Mapp said he called Takesha and said, find out. Do you know the status of that? If not, can you follow up with that? Moving right along. In addition to, I asked Mr. Mapp if I was at a veterans event in City Hall, at the Military Park. Council member Eason was also there as my witness. And they had a very flawless, brief presentation of the veteran ceremony. However, when they raised the flag, it appeared to me that the flag was somewhat weather-beaten, discolored, etc. Nobody's fault. The flag in front of 29 North Day Street, the flag at Oakwood Avenue and Main Street, the flag at Valley Street and Forest Street. So I'm saying, again, believe me or not, I had a conversation with Mr. Mapp, and he sent you an email saying, could you look into those 5 flags? And I'm hoping it doesn't become a political football, that we can all agree that we need 5 American flags to be replaced and 1 POW flag. Thank you. Do you know if the heat line is in effect as of yet? I know we've had some transitional weather and a few good days, but do you know is it in play in terms of code enforcement covering on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, the heat hotline is in effect, and the difference is between them and some of the other people that don't have voicemail, those inspectors have cell phones, so they're able to use their cell phones.
Right.
So it is up and operating.
Right. Do the approximately 32,000 citizens of Orange know their cell phone's number? Because I didn't even know that.
What it is that they call into, the inspectors call into a number, and they're able to retrieve the messages that way. If you don't have a cell phone, you just rely on your office.
I'm saying the number that you've had in play for the last several years, a person can still call that number?
Yes.
So the heat hotline is not affected by the voicemail in the city phone
because
system?
they have cell phones that they can call into the number.
Okay. Thank you so much. Briefly, I would like to thank the clerk's office for always assisting me on behalf of the citizens of the West Ward with regard to inquiring about resolution, ordinances, and making copies for me. I really want to thank you guys. I know you guys are pretty much overwhelmed because, you know, 1/3 of your work time is dedicated to Jeffrey Fells and his Oprah request. And I think if the citizens really knew how much manpower was put into that, but he has a constitutional right to make Oprah requests, even though they may be about $200 per month, so be it. With respect to Mr. Fell, he alluded to, you know, we should all read the address and we should all make donations. I do not need Jeffrey Fell, or anyone for that matter, telling me to make donations on behalf of charity. Mr. Jeffrey Fells doesn't know what anybody makes in terms of donations. Yet, can you tell me, can he say what part of the Gettysburg Address that it talks about respect? Mr. Fell has disrespected this council. When Eason was the council president, he went through the ceiling every 5 minutes. He's always outbursting. The council president is always saying, please, 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 please. He is the most disrespectful person when it comes to this council meeting procedures. Why? Because he know he can do it and get away with it. Mr. Jeffrey Fells, in my humble opinion, here comes another lawsuit, is the embodiment of the Willie Leach Doctrine. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Perfect example. Thank you. Thank you. I accept your apology. Lastly, I would like to thank the Orange Public Works Department, Mr. Mays. I say this sincerely. And I also would like to thank Raymond Winfield and his staff for assisting with some of the sign issues, the lighting issues, and the vacant properties in the West Ward. And lastly, to you, Mr. Harris, we had some discussion about some legislation that, with all due respect, minimally I've been waiting on for 60 days. I hope we can really move forward on them, and I hope they can at least, if not pass, be voted on before my term expires in June 2014. Thank you. Yes, sir. I conclude.
Councilwoman Jones-Bell?
Thank you, Council President.
I'm sorry, a motion to extend the meeting? Moved by Councilwoman Jones-Bell, second by Councilman Corbett. I'm sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Corbett, all in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Hello, all in favor? All right. Any opposed?
I oppose.
One opposed, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or the motion carries. Councilwoman Jones Bell.
Thank you. No disrespect to you, Councilman Abdul Rashid. The Willie Lynch doctrine is what you're referring to? Okay, I'm clearly aware.
You know I don't
and
speak good
anybody-
English, but I think everybody that heard my
I just
voice
wanted-
knew what I meant.
No, I wanted to clarify, so if they wanted to look it up, they have the right...
That's why I say Google it.
Okay, Willie Lynch doctrine.
Jeffrey Fells knew what I meant.
I don't know about this library issue that somebody brought up about state funds and if they're reported to the city, and if they are, is it monthly, is it, but I would like to know that information as well. Would it be possible, Kevin, for you to get that information for us?
Yes.
Thank you. If there's been a 2012 report, a 2013 report. Regarding Prime Point, I agree with Councilman Marable. We do need a system in place that has a factual basis to it, that it cannot be, it can't be changed. I mean, your handprint is the only one that can get you in and out of here, and that if you say you're here because the machine tells you that that person is here. It comes to as close as monitoring employees here as anything I've ever seen. And we need something that has a degree of accuracy to it. So I definitely will be supporting that. I did have another issue, but I can't remember what it was because that issue with Marty is done. And I do have one last thing to say, and I'm going to say it again because I've said it before. Oh, I remembered what it was. The access way that is by the brook on Thomas Boulevard, the county has said that it is not theirs, so we found that much out. And we do believe that it belongs to Orange Housing Authority. And so I am waiting for someone from Orange Housing Authority to let me know that it is theirs, and then they can take upon themselves to shore it up or do whatever needs to be done so that it's not that kind of an access like it is now for people that are using as a bathroom. And I want to take this time to wish all of the residents of Orange a happy, happy Thanksgiving, a very blessed holiday, and please stay safe because it is very, very dangerous now in Orange, whether people want to believe that or not. Thank you.
Councilman Corbett.
Thank you, Council President. The need for us to revisit the pay-to-play ordinance, Mr. Harris, we've spoke about it before. We need to revisit that and make sure that it's restructured to at least complement the pay-to-play ordinance that the state has. Public Works, Mr. Mays. After the fiasco during the election, a lot of things were said, and apparently the Public Works personnel were told not to speak to council members. I want to know, does that apply to work hours, or does that apply to when they see us, over the weekend or after work hours? Would you know anything about that?
I believe it applies to during work hours, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think what they want is any contact to come through me.
You know that's
and not the
bullying,
work.
right? You know that's bullying? That's part of the bullying in state law. You can't do that.
You know that's the same thing that the Hawkins administration did. And, So you weren't the one to make that announcement to the public workers?
Well, I know there's something in, I believe, the handbook, or there's some documents that say that.
Specifically,
I believe it makes mention to that, something to that effect.
Specifically referring to council members?
It refers to who employees should be dealing with in terms of requests from council or something like that. I've seen something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's, I was going to say, that's completely different. I think the word that came down to the workers of public works was not to speak to council members concerning, pretty much at all.
Anything.
Pretty much at all. So, I don't understand why that is. Can you look into it?
I'll look into it, but I'd like to have you guys see what's in writing in terms, I know there is a policy in reference to something like that. I don't know the wording off.
Councilman Corbett, Director Mayor, just for clarification, no directive should be given is to the mayor or his designee through the business administration. But I think the specific is asking you a question, why wasn't the signs picked up? That can be answered, Mr. Mays.
Okay.
All right. Now, I know it's been said tonight by one resident that we pretty much don't know where we stand with the budget. One thing I do know is that if we go over the budget, or if the administration or if finance goes over that budget knowingly, that it's criminal. And if that happens, I'm hoping that those who are responsible are brought up to charges. We also heard some comments about deadlines as far as the administration and even the previous administration, how we seem to be a little late in coming before the council with such important issues. It might not be such a bad idea to utilize the Outlook in your email, and that's Microsoft software. All you have to do is plug it into your calendar, you get the reminder, you can do it well in advance. There seems to be lights out on Scotland Road between Tremont Avenue and Christopher Street. Street lights are out, and it's pretty dark on that street. And lastly, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We may not be pleased with the financial condition of the city, but we still have so much to be happy and thankful for. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Neeson?
I wasn't going to make any comments, but as it relates to the library, and the young lady talked about monies, and I don't know how many of you got an email from our grant writers is Millennium, right?
Yes.
If you read your email that you got as an attachment, it lists all of the municipalities they got money for. $1.something million here, thousands of dollars here. We'd have them employed for the last 2 years. It didn't mention Orange one time that they got us a dollar, not $1. So I think if you run into them in the next couple of days, please ask that question. Why hasn't Orange received any grants for anything? Because they should be getting us a library grant. But they list all this money they got in the surrounding towns, but nothing in Orange. But we still employ them. And one of the other things I want to talk about, last meeting, Jeffrey Fell asked about Walter G. Alexander, why they had not paid a pilot agreement. Just for clarification, there is a process that has to be followed for them to pay us. That money is sitting in escrow. So it's not really, I guess it's a combination of the city and housing, because they have to make sure that process is clean. The money is there, they didn't spend it, we just need to present a bill so we can get the money, but it has to go through the process. So it's not that they didn't want to pay us. The money is sitting there, Mr. Field. We just need to get it. And once that process is completed, Mr. Smith will issue a bill and we will get the money. And I just also, Attorney Smith just happened to have the Robert Rules of Order. And former Councilman Lewis lives and dies by that. So I picked it up and started to rule it. And it said, reading it, Once an item is tabled, all questions go on the table. It cannot be discussed by anyone until it's lifted. So if you want to know the answer to that, get the book for Robert Rules of Orders. It's in black and white. So that clarifies that. Also, did anyone get a letter from the mayor about setting up constituent services? Mayor's office setting up constituent services?
It was in our box. No.
I think you're the only one who got it.
It's a trap.
I just want to say to the council, I think we gotta maybe be real careful because this is another opportunity of them circumvent the council and leaving us totally out of. There's 7 council members here, so all of us are responsible for a ward. Three are responsible for the whole city. So I think the process should be, if an issue come to the mayor's office, the first place they think they should do is call a council person in that ward or one of the at-large. We just had an incident in Washington Dye that we have been working on for over a year. And they went to the mayor's office, they wrote to the management an extensive letter. And the management calls me and said, but Councilwoman, we've been working on this for a year. What do I tell them? I tell them we've been working on it. So they don't need to butt into it right now because they can't do any more with it than the attorney for management and the Washington Dot itself. So it sort of duplicates efforts and you get in the mix of stuff that's already in the pipeline, like 247 with Dwayne Street that came up at the forum. We'd already given that to Mr. Mays, and he was working on that. So, I mean, it's a duplication of effort. So I think we need to talk to the administration about I know he wants to be proactive, but sometimes proactive can mean you can create more problems than you can resolve because it's already in the works of being worked on. And I also wanted to weigh in on, and I was just reading something. You know the football player Martin and was incognito? What Mr. Councilman Corbett was just talking about sort of is an example of that with employees and council. It's called bullying. I mean, and who was that was saying something about reading the Declaration of Independence? Was that
Gettysburg Address.
Gettysburg Address and the Declaration of Independence. I mean, we all got freedom of speech here. So if I see a worker and I want to ask them some question, nobody's going to stop me.
Right.
And if the worker is reprimanded, then they need to tell somebody that they're being bullied. This administration has got to stop, and that including Public Works, Mr. Mays, because it's in your department, it's where it comes from all the time. And if I have to, I'll call out names of who's implementing that and initiating that. We need to stop that. We are free people. Did you guys know that? We are free. We are free. We can talk to anybody we want to talk to, whether you like it or not. And if you don't have anything to hide, there's no reason to put that stuff in the air. I mean, I live next door to those people. Public Works lives next. You think I'm going to pass her by and not speak because I think one of you guys might see me talking to him? I would tell y'all in no uncertain terms in my Ebonic language where y'all could go.
Don't blame it on Ebonics.
But it's just that this city we have got to stop doing that to people. This is a free country. And with that, I conclude.
You want to say Happy Thanksgiving?
Oh. And I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy, safe, and prayerful Thanksgiving. Let us be a blessing to someone else, and let us pray for each other every day. Prayer works. I'm a living witness. Prayer does work.
If they don't have a...
and if you don't have a place for dinner, St. Matthew's is serving dinner from Thanksgiving dinner from 12 to 4. The fire department is also serving dinner. Ebenezer is serving dinner on Wednesday. Ebenezer Church, their dinner is Wednesday. And the Church of the Epiphany is also serving dinner one of those days. I think it's in a flyer that we got. So for anybody that needs some food, you can visit either of those locations and eat all you want. So everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? Merely this. There's a chain of command in any employment setting. And I'm just
I
asking,
just want you to be clear, it's not, we understand the chain of
Okay.
command. It's walking, I gave the examples, walking by, and I see somebody on the street, and I said, do you know why this is left there? And having that interaction, not go shovel 5 feet of snow, not giving a directive.
Exactly.
It's asking a question and just engaging in conversation. So I'm sure the council is very clear on giving directives, it's just an engaging conversation we're referring to. And so it's very, it's
So if I
become,
may.
and let me just say that this administration came in on the heels of an administration who they said, we will not be like that. And that was, one of the things, and Open Door, and what was it saying, it's just, Orange is 2.2 square miles, and many people grew up here together, and we've known each other pre-being elected officials and everything. So if you're here, you ask a question, that's all it is. We're not talking about giving directives.
That's right. We all adults, we understand the chain of command, and we always beat on Marty all the time because we call him. If we want something done, we don't go to the men or the workers. We know better than that.
Council President, remember, I had one question for Mr. Smith, but he was out there talking to a
yes.
constituent.
You sure did.
Okay, through you to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, and again, if we can't discuss things on the table, fine. And if we can't talk about lawsuits or personnel issues, but I don't think this is that personal. Do you know, in fact, that the city is still being fined $1,000 a day? I think that's a fair question.
it is a fair question. I'd be happy to discuss it in executive session.
Lastly, could you give me a legal opinion with respect to, I had asked Ty Cooper, let's just say 3 city council meetings ago, why names wasn't on the bill list regarding training. You were in attendance. She said something about, some employees felt that, I'm paraphrasing now, felt that there was harassment, and I said, well, I felt if the taxpayers are paying for it, they should know. But she deferred literally to you. And so I was wondering, can you give me a legal opinion on that, to state that in document?
Sure, merely pursuant to rights, obviously, if you're discussing an employment issue, the person has to be notified that their name is coming up in the discussion.
No.
No, I'm saying
Clarification on the bill list.
if a person, Joe Smith, is going on a training that costs, $400 to learn about whatever, but on the bill list, that name is blank. It just says employee training. There was a time when there was a name attached to that line item. She indicated that the reason they stopped that practice is because some employees felt some type of harassment. Like, for instance, people would say, oh, you spending taxpayers' money for training. And then she deferred to you. I don't want to belabor the point. I want to yield to the council president for a comment so we can move along. But I'm just saying, you don't understand what I'm saying. This requires a legal opinion as to why the administration, and at that time, the acting business administrator, felt that that was the position of the administration. This has nothing to do with rice and all that. It's not even that deep.
I agree. It's not that deep, but I guess in the sense, if there's been complaints by employees about receiving questions about what they're doing, whether they're taking a class or not, and to protect that employee's privacy, if you will, it should be noticed. They can be brought in, and there could be questioned about why they're going to these particular training sessions. That would be my assumption why she said
No,
that
but
to you.
the department head okayed it, and the director of finance paid for it, so that's why they're going. So that takes care of why they're going part. And it may be in accordance with their vocation. They're doing taxes, so they're enhancing some tax courses. I'm not questioning any of the purchase order, the department, the employee. I'm saying, why can't that name be published on the line item that Joe Smith was going for a tax course that cost the taxpayers $400? End of case. Nothing else is relevant, and there are no components to this. She felt that it was because the employee would say, oh, some citizens or the council or whoever, Martians or something, would say, oh, you spend the taxpayers' money. It has nothing to do, I'm not saying it wasn't done legally or morally. Why is it omitted from the line? That's the position because I think the taxpayers should know.
Exactly.
Well, that may
We
well
all
be
agree
true,
on that.
but without the additional information
but I don't want to take it out of context, what she said or how she said it, or her reason for saying it. So I'd like the opportunity to come back to you, if you allow.
Okay.
And find out what was behind it.
Council President, thank you. I conclude.
Thank you. Council members, just a couple of brief comments. I'm sure if anybody was home over the weekend watching TV, there was a lot of reflection as we approach November 22nd on the 50th anniversary of the death of Lincoln. And I know there was some... Kennedy, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kennedy, I'm sorry. And wrote that down. And I'm just was reflecting on all of the commentary that was going on in the state of our country, and just thinking on how, and even bringing it home, that we are a much better people and that we're here to serve each other, and our differences are what make us great and would, help us to make a better community. But when we're so mean-spirited towards each other, we get nothing accomplished. And I constantly consider that and reflect on that. And I think that it hurts the people that we serve. And I just want to encourage, and tonight I look out into the audience and I say to Director Mays and I say to Attorney Smith, and I see Vinny as well in the audience, that it's sad that there are no directors here to have questions answered, or people feel so comfortable. And as Ms. Stewart even stated, the mayor's not here. And we're here to serve people, ask questions, and do it in the most efficient way. And I think we just need to get back to that day in July on 2012 when all of us retook, those at large took our oath of office, and even the ones prior to that, and just saying that we were going to serve the people of Orange. And I think that if you can take a memo back to the administration, Mr. Mays, is that we please have the directors in the audience and not feel so comfortable not showing up. There should be some communication as to why people are not going to be here. And I don't think, Mr. Mays, that you should have to bear the weight of giving an excuse for every department that's here. I just want to caution also, I like to get out in front of being preventive in terms of litigation. And I think this administration is moving down a very challenging path in terms of sending out memos and stuff. And Attorney Smith, you are the city council for the city. And in terms of things that may affect our city, I think it needs to come across your desk and talk to these people in terms of these letters going out. There was a last letter that went out in terms of the givebacks and so on and so forth. And even in, the mayor sent it out today, and the memo stated that the memo rescinds the memo from the acting business administrator dated November 14 regarding budget givebacks. The memo from the active business administrator was not clear that the memo was only a survey. I will be in meeting with representatives from all unions and all departments to discuss the matter further. In addition, I will keep everyone informed. Even in putting a survey out, that is direct dealing, and it's against collective bargaining rights. And so, I mean, it's very simple to call a meeting and sit down and talk to people, whatever it is that you think, But for us, I'm sure that every council member in the last, please turn off your phones, in the last several days have filled so many calls because of these letters that have gone out, and it's unnecessary just because there wasn't a conversation with you. So we can get, in terms of that chain of command that you speak to, there is a chain of command in terms of making sure everything goes through the legal department for legality purposes. So I just encourage that, because this is a very serious lawsuit, and it's a lot of standing behind it. We are a union environment, and there's a certain way that we have to conduct ourselves. Status of Yes, Councilwoman, please.
The last one that you got, did we all get a copy of that? Because what it did, it created hysteria amongst the employees that didn't need to happen.
Right.
Because I started getting the phone calls Thursday night.
Yeah.
And I knew they were nuts, and what I told the employees, they were nuts, that it should never have went out. But it seems that everybody that comes into this, under this administration, automatically assumes they can do what they want, they can upset the employees, they can bully them, they can threaten them, and there's nothing that the council can do about it. So I think it was inappropriate and to cause hysteria, have everybody all worried. And we do have unions here for a reason.
You ready to say more comments?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
as they say,
Yes.
I was just so mad over the weekend that this happened when it shouldn't have happened. Because, people have to take into consideration other people's feelings and the way it was done.
Right.
It was just inappropriate.
Also, I just want to, I'm sure many people under the sound of my voice may name Minister Tony Cook, Lee Cook. I believe Councilman Corbett, last church, was she still at Ebenezer?
No, Mount Olive.
Mount Olive. But she was raised her children here in the city of Orange. She passed. And
On Saturday.
On Saturday, information is
The funeral will be Saturday,
will be this Saturday.
the 23rd, at Mount Olive on Ashland Avenue in East Orange. From 8 to 11 is the wake, at 11 o'clock is the funeral.
Okay, so it's at Mount Olive this Saturday, the 23rd. And I'm sorry, the
8
wait,
to 11 is the wake, and 11 o'clock is the funeral.
11 a.m. Thank you
And
so
if you're
much.
planning on attending, get there early, because that is a small church.
Teeny, yeah.
She's been here for a long time. And then finally, just keep the meeting moving. I would like to just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and to, as we reflect, as we go into the holiday season, that we have a lot to be thankful for, and that we should just consider our brother before we consider to do things that are mean-spirited. Thank you. With the agenda.
Councilman, you might also just want to say that was our Judge Freddie Polehill's
Niece.
niece, Judge Freddie Polehill's niece,
Yeah.
so people can make the association.
She was Judge Freddie Polehill's niece and my kindergarten teacher. Okay. Kevin Jackson's mom.
Okay, we're up to item number 9, ordinances on second reading. Ordinance number 45, 2013, an ordinance to amend Chapter 51, alcoholic beverages of the Code of the City of Orange Township, requiring the use of security cameras outside alcoholic beverage establishments.
Anybody that will be heard from the public? Motion to close public hearing?
Motion, a second.
Motion by, I'm sorry, Councilman Marrow, second by Councilwoman Easton.
Councilman Corbett.
Second.
I thought it was Marrow. I thought it was...
I said it, he said it.
Okay, clarification.
Yield. I don't know.
Motion by Councilman Hassan Abdul Rashid, second by Councilman Corbett. Is there a motion for final adoption?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones Bell on the motion. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
In favor?
Councilmember Corbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Easton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grant Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marable.
No?
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay, passes 5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent. We're now on ordinance 47, 2013, an ordinance to amend Chapter 129-69, Chapter 60, barbershops and beauty parlors.
Is anybody from the public? Gloria Stewart.
I guess for my own edification, I'd like to know what the amendment entails.
This thing is so outdated, Ms. Stewart. Ms. Benny, can you come up, please? This is from 1960.
Okay, that wasn't a bad year.
No, it's just, it's so outdated.
I think when it was written, it was back in 1969.
Right.
Some of the amendments were that we took out, added on, the first time it read was $150 plus an additional $50 for each barbershop chair or each hair salon chair. That was taken out. The other thing that was taken out was the actual day. Sunday was never addressed. It was always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is a regular closing time, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday is a late time, so they can stay open until 10 o'clock at night. So that was amended. That was the amendments that was done from the original draft.
Now, will that go out to the people so that they'll know, or they just have to, like, I didn't know, it's good, you know.
Well, I will tell you, in terms of the barbershop and beauty salons, there's been several meetings with them, so Benny's have to go to every barbershop and beauty salon and hand deliver it, yes. No, he does, I'm just kidding. It will be posted.
We have a package that's actually ready. Once everything is signed by the council.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having it as a,
The packet is set. There's certain things on there that were never addressed,
okay.
like keeping flammable liquids in a container. All the licenses have to be posted. We actually copied whatever the Board of Cosmetology has. The only thing is that we'll be going out there actually inspecting it. They come out maybe once in a blue moon. We're going to try to be out there maybe a little bit more frequently.
That's what they say in kindergarten, informational text.
Councilwoman, did you say Benny was going to make sure each one is finalized, given to each beauty shop and barber shop?
Okay, you want a motion? Let me close the public. On a motion, you can do that.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones-Bell. Motion for final adoption.
Move.
You didn't do all in favor.
I'm sorry, you're right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for final adoption.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones-Bell. On the motion, Councilman Easton.
Council President, is Benny going to give one to each barber shop and beauty shop? So that we make sure that everybody is on the same page? Because a lot of them didn't even know we were revising the ordinance, so I think somehow or another we need to make sure each one of them have a copy.
If you want, we can actually do that if you'd like.
Yes, I would, because that would also help our police out, so they're not constantly
Or we
explaining.
can actually put it with the application if you want, when we do our mailings, or do you want them to have it before that? It's up, whatever the council
Are
wants.
you going to mail one to each location?
Well, we're going to give them the actual, there's going to be an application for paying for the license fee once this is adopted, if it gets adopted. And inside there's going to be an actual checkoff list, what we're going to be looking for, so they know what we're going to be doing.
Well, you can just insert a copy in there then, that's fine.
Can you just underline the time so that, I think that's really hit home to a lot of them was the new time. Thank you so much.
That's no problem. Thank you.
Also, upon passing, Benny, I'm sorry, upon passing, if you could ensure that there's some actual coordination with the police department, a very that deliberate action with the police department so that the police officers know what's going on and they're not blindsided by it.
We're going to be working a little bit closer with them too, because so I can tell some of the establishments are going to be surprised of us coming in. So we're going to go in gently in the beginning just to introduce ourselves, but we'll be making contact. Thank you.
Seeing a roll call?
Councilmember Dora Sheep.
In favor?
Councilmember Corbett.
No.
Councilmember Easton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gone Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones-Bell.
Yes.
Help yourself.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent. Now we're on to ordinances tabled from August 7th. Ordinance 22-2013, an ordinance setting forth an employee tuition reimbursement policy and guidelines of the City of Orange Township and amending and supplementing Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code and Appendix titled City of Orange Township Employee Handbook of Personnel Policies and Procedures.
Is there a motion to remove from the table? Seeing none.
Ordinance 32, 2013, a bond ordinance providing various capital acquisitions and improvements by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, the city appropriating $9,826,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $8,935,500 in bonds or notes of the city to finance costs thereof.
Is there a motion to lift from the table? Seeing none, move. Please.
Motion to, Ordinance 37, 2013, an ordinance settling outside employment guidelines for the city of Orange Township and amending and supplementing Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code and the appendix titled City of Orange Township Employee Handbook of Personnel Policies and Procedures.
Is there a motion to remove from the table? Seeing none, move.
Council President, point of order.
Yes.
I just have a procedural question, but I know everybody's going to hit me off with it's table, can't discuss it, but here's my best shot. I'm just asking from a procedural perspective. I was just curious as to why Resolution 342-2013 was put at the end of the, which is a tabled
Because
item.
we're in ordinances. This is a table resolution. This is a table ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Williams, point of order. What is the action that's supposed to happen at some point? Is somebody revising these, or
Well,
we are? We're revising them? Oh, okay. All right.
Right now, we're up to item number 10, ordinance introduced for first reading.
Move.
Second.
You didn't read it?
I didn't read
we
it.
didn't read it.
My fault. Ready to go home.
My fault, ready to go.
Resolution 50, 2013, an ordinance of the City of Orange Township vacating a portion of Lackawanna Plaza consisting of approximately 5,045.06 square feet.
Motion to adopt on first reading.
Move.
Second. Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones Bell. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
In favor.
Councilmember Corbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Eason. Yes. Councilmember Gonzalez is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marble.
Abstain?
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Now, one extension.
One abstention.
5 yeas,
Oh, I'm
one
sorry. There was
extension.
One abstention.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he said the same.
No, he said abstain.
Sorry about that. Okay, so it's
It was
5
his
yeas, 1
sleepy
abstention, and 1
response.
absent.
Before we move to the consent agenda, Mr. Mays, can you, at the next meeting, lay out a plan that you can just discuss briefly in terms of the relocation of the parking? Thank you.
Now we're on to consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda.
Motion to
Council.
suspend the rule and, I'm sorry.
Council President, I just wanted to advise the council that we do have a resolution that we need to walk on to the floor and go on tonight's consent agenda. It's a resolution authorizing settlement to the matter of Simpkins and Simpkins LLC versus City of Orange Township. Everyone should have a copy of this resolution as well as a memo that goes with it. We need to vote on this tonight.
Right.
It has to be in place by the 1st of December.
Is there I'm sorry.
Council President, I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. the Honorable Elroy Corbett say that he wants to walk on a resolution. I may have misheard something, I don't know. I'm a little bit slow here. Is through you to the deputy clerk, did he say that?
Yes, it is, sir.
And I'll substantiate why I did said it, because...
No, we're trying to go home. We know.
No, he's serious. Let me just explain to that. I said that I'm not in favor of walking these on only in an urgent or emergency
We
situation.
understand that, Councilman Corbett.
All right.
Okay.
All right, just have to go on
So I
record
have
for
a
saying
motion to suspend the rules to walk on. Wait just a second. To walk on 397-2013, which is a resolution reappointing Clifford R. Ross from Orange, New Jersey, as Commissioner to the ABC Board of the City of Orange Township, and 398-2013, which is the one that Councilman Corbett referred to, a resolution authorizing the settlement in the matter of Simpkins and Simpkins LLC versus the City of Orange Township. Is it moved by Councilwoman Jones?
Second.
Second by Councilman Corbett. Roll call.
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
Not in favor.
I'm sorry, on the motion.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. On one of the resolutions that I have, there needs to be one change.
We're not there yet.
Okay, all right. Just
slow down.
don't let me go. Don't go
Sorry.
by it.
Sorry, roll call.
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
Not in favor.
Of walking them on? You're not in favor? Okay, I'm just clarifying. No. Okay.
Councilmember Corbett.
yes.
Councilmember Easton.
Yes.
Councilmember Goff Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Yeas have it, six yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Five, one
I'm
and
sorry, five, and 1.
We added two to the consent agenda, 397 and 398.
Should be left on time,
Just a
though.
second, Mr. Fells.
What did he want to see?
He wants to see the settlement agreement.
I heard, just a second. Council members, are there any items that you would have removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, Council President.
Councilwoman
394, 2013.
394?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's it. That's it.
Anybody?
Council President, 396,
Okay.
and also the bill list, whatever that number is.
393?
Oh, somebody said it? Okay.
No,
The bill
I'm just
list?
saying, no, you said it.
Okay, the bill list and the other.
390?
Council 390. Okay. Councilman, any other? Going, Director Mays?
Yes, I don't know if this is the right time, but on my resolution number 392, it says the hourly rate for an operator is $24. It should be $25.20. Today, we got a email from the director in East Orange, and he says because of contractual increase, the operator's rate is $25.20. I just want to make that change.
So you will need to amend the operator to 25,
$25.20
25.20.
For operator.
And everything else stays the same?
Everything else is the same.
So, okay. Okay. Okay, so we're prepared to vote on the consent agenda. And just for the record, 392, Mr. 392 has been amended, so please make sure you mark that on your,
Council President, can I remove one more?
you sure can?
386.
386, okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have resolutions 378, 2013, 379, 380, 381, 382, 383, 385, 387, 384 was removed.
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
394.
I'm sorry. 394. Okay, so let's see. 384, 385, 387, 388, 389, 391, 392, 395,
394.
397.
oh, 394 was removed.
No, it is.
No, 397 and 398.
397 and 398 weren't removed.
397 and 398.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbin, second by Councilman Abdul Rashid. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Going back to 386-2013. A resolution authorizing the award of a contract with Quick Environment LLC, 61 Cunningham Avenue, Hamilton, New Jersey, 08610, to provide services related to the removal of the abandoned underground storage tank located at Central Avenue Playground in the amount not to exceed $12,000. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Abdul Rashid, second by Councilman Corbett on the motion.
Jones Bell.
Council President?
I'm sorry, second by Councilman Jones Bell on the motion. Seeing no
President?
Councilman Marable.
Could we have the representative from, is it Remington and Verdict? Is she still here? I guess I keep scratching my head over this because the price seems exorbitant. What? Your face says it all. Tell me why it's not.
It's not, and there are a few things. There are a lot of unknowns here.
Sorry, can you state your name?
Oh, sure, I'm
please?
sorry. Jacqueline Fouché from Remington, Vernick, and Arango Engineers.
Yes.
There are a lot of unknowns here, and so the bid package is based on the things that we do know about. The actual contents of the tank itself, the possibility of contamination, and things of that sort. We've provided a quantity for the contractor to bid on, but we still don't actually know until he goes in there to do the work. So that's how this estimate or this bid package was prepared. And we did obtain quotations from 3 contractors to make sure we gave you the lowest quality.
Maybe that's what I'm looking to hear, that
Yeah.
I wasn't
I
quite
think
clear.
that it should be attached. There's a, well, I don't actually know what you have for your package, but along with our recommendation, there was a tabulation, a spreadsheet, 4 contractors that bid.
Okay, on page, and again, I'm on 386. These are not paginated. Counting the resolution, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th page. Do you have that?
I don't have that.
Can I show it to you? Sure. I just want to be clear what those numbers represent. Sure.
The first item is for the contractor to actually remove of the tank itself.
And how much is that for?
He is at a price of $1,100. And the second price is for the restoration and backfill of the void that will be left once the tank is removed. That is another $1,000. So his base bid, I'm going to call it, is $2,200. That is with no other items being encountered when he removes it. The next items 3 through 9 are things that we have to provide or have provisions for in case we encounter it. Let's say, for example, number 3, waste classification. He's going to test in order to give us some information about what is actually in place within the soil.
I thought you said the $12,000 represented the known. The known is the $2,200.
Yes, and the $12,000 does represent, with our quantifying what could be encountered. So we did give him a quantity to bid on. It's just like with any other project, we calculate what the possibilities are. We know your tank is at a capacity of this amount, and we're asking him to provide a unit cost to dispose of this amount of fluid and this amount of unknown fluid. So these things are all quantified in order to give you a competitive bid or compare apples to apples with some engineering calculations associated with it.
So removing the tank and backfilling is $2,200.
Yes. But the contents and things that we may encounter are being applied for or applied to the items that are below it. And we give a quantity so that we're comparing apples to apples for every company. I'm sorry, because I have your copy.
No, that's okay. All right, so the itemization, though, of, there is no, well, I guess there is. It's cents per gallon or something per gallon.
It's cents per gallon. Let's say if I don't want to overdo it, but you let me know if I'm going too far. For items 7, 8, and 9, he could encounter heating oil, gasoline, or waste oil. We're making the assumption based on what we see that it's only heating oil. But if he goes in there and he encounters gasoline or waste oil, those parameters are provided in this bid package so that he'll be able to be compensated for it. And so I drew a line across the board. Everyone will bid unit cost, and everyone's cost will be applied to 1,000 gallons, so that we're comparing apples to apples.
So in the best case scenario, this actually could be less than $12,000.
It could be less, it could be greater.
Well, that was my next question. And in the event that it's greater?
In the event that it's greater, we'll know once we get into the tank, and I'll be able to come back to you for your authorization. But I won't know until I get into the tank because it is unknown. And the same holds true for the soil removal. If you look at items number 4 and 5, non-hazardous versus hazardous soil, we're applying the non-hazardous quantity or unit cost to it. But if I get in there and find that it is hazardous and I'm going to encroach upon the $12,000, I'll need to come back to you. But this gives us some latitude, and again, a basis to compare apples to apples for each bid package that's received.
All right, I don't want you to personally go into the tank.
I will not go into the tank, don't you
Instead of
worry.
going into the tank.
I hope I've explained it all.
But the tank, my point was, taking out the tank and filling it, $2,200.
Yes, but I know there's something in the tank. But yes.
Mr. Shea, just for a matter of record, you do, on the back memorandum page, notice the correction of the addition on page 6 that Councilman Marable just referred to, but the council, it should be 2,100, not 2,200, just for clarification. So if you want to correct your document.
Total amount?
Yes. 11 and 10 is 21, but she makes a memorandum at the back.
Right, and the recommendation also refers to the 2,100. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilmember Abdul-Rashid?
In favor?
Councilmember Corbett?
Yes.
Councilmember Eason?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones-Bell?
Yes.
Councilmember Marable?
Yes.
Council President Williams?
Yes.
Okay, passes 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Moving to 390-2013, a resolution of the City of Orange Township in the County of Essex authorizing the designation of the Housing Authority of the City of Orange Township as redeveloper of Block 3301, Lot 62 and 66. Councilman Abdul-Rashid, I can't.
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
No, it's going to pick up while I'm talking, so can...
Oh, okay.
Block 3304, lots 2 and 21, and block 3405.
That was Corbett that did that.
Lots 24 and 26. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett. Second by Councilwoman Jones-Bell on the motion.
This is 920, the bill is?
390. See, Councilman, see? Exactly. 390-2013. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Abdul-Rashid?
Pass.
Councilmember Corbett?
Yes.
Councilmember Eason?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones-Bell?
Yes.
Councilmember Marable?
No?
Council President Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Abdul-Rashid?
In favor?
5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Moving to 393-2013, a resolution approving the bill list for council meeting vote on November 18, 2013, dated November 15, 2013, approving checks issued by the Finance Department in accordance with Ordinance 2-95 as, what? Oh, as amended. And the new, yeah, you can start. 3 million.
The new balance would be $3,295,287.14.
Can you repeat it?
Yes, $3,295,287.14.
How much was backed out?
$292,654.88. So that final total is $3,295,287.14.
So we're voting as amended. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones Bell on the motion.
Council President?
Councilman Abdul-Rashid.
With respect to the amended budget, I just wanted to say that regarding the car wash issue, as you know, Council President, I did call you. As you know, Linda Jones Bell, I did call you. I did call April Vaughn Butler. She's not in attendance. I did reach out to Councilman Corbett, but he was in class. And it's not that I'm trying to bring information back piecemeal with respect to whatever I said regarding the budget earlier. I was simply at City Hall speaking to whoever I need to speak to regarding several issues, and then the issue with Bashir came up. So I'm not bringing back information piecemeal. Of course, you have to do your due diligence, and quite frankly, whatever I suggest or whatever I vote on, if it's voted up or down, so be it. My issue has always been procedurally, but with respect to your comments, and you did say no disrespect to me, I wasn't trying to bring piecemeal information. I was talking to Mr. Mapp about several issues on the agenda. I asked him about Bashir. I did see Bashir's proposal. I did see his K-99 form. I forgot the terminology. I did see the purchase order, so I was sharing that to the people that I talked to. I didn't get a chance to call Ed, and I didn't get a chance to call you. And so, you guys can vote the way you want, but I just hope that you guys, and I know you need documents with, I don't know, the only place you're going to be able to get these documents, it seems to me, is from Mr. Mapp or the administration. Other than that, you guys can vote any kind of way you want to. And with that, I conclude.
Councilman Abdul-Rashid, you will be, are you going to get the, assist us in getting the documents and getting to the clerk?
I'll speak to you offline about that.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
in fact, I talked to Bashir today. I think I probably have known him, and he's not upset. He understands what the process is. He was supposed to bring the documents tonight, but evidently he didn't get off work in time enough because he promised me he would have them here. It's not that we don't want to pay him, we just need the documentation. And I don't think when he agreed to what he did, and regardless of what Councilman Abdul-Rashid says, it still has to be investigated because there was a liability issue associated with that was not thought about. You can't just arbitrarily do you just can't do that. It's got to go through the process. And Bashir understands that.
Roll call.
Councilmember Abdul-Rashid?
None in favor?
Councilmember Corbett?
Yes.
Councilmember Easton?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaughn Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell?
Yes.
Councilmember Marable?
No?
Council President Williams?
Yes.
Passes. We have 4 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 absent. Okay.
Moving on to 394-2013. A resolution declaring emergency with regard to Ordinance 47-2013 and waiving the 20-day waiting period.
Council President.
Is there?
Move.
No, before we, one second. Moved by Councilman
Second.
Corbett, second by Councilman Abdul Rashid on the motion.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones Bell?
Thank you. Yeah, the reason why I pulled it is because I don't know what this is about.
This is in regards to the barbershop ordinance we just passed.
Okay.
And waiving the 20-day waiting period because some of the things on there need to be updated immediately. So it won't go through the normal process.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Anybody? Roll call?
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
In favor?
Councilmember Corbett.
No.
Councilmember Eason.
Yes.
Councilmember Grant Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Passes 5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Moving to 396-20-13, a resolution amending resolution number 279-2013, appointing council members Hassan Abdul Rashid and Donna K. Williams as a liaison to the Housing Authority in the City of Orange Township. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilman Abdul Rashid on the motion. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
Pass.
Councilmember Corbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Eason.
Well, it seems to be something
Councilmember
going
Grant Butler
around
is
here.
absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay, passes 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Pass. You gotta pass.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, yes, sir?
Abstain?
Abstain. Okay, so we have 5 yeas, 1 abstain, 1 absent.
Is there a motion to remove 342-2013 from the floor?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marable, second. Is there a second?
Is that the one with Hackett?
Yes, sir.
Second?
Second by Councilman Abdul Rashid. Roll call. Councilman Abdul Rashid.
In favor?
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilman Marable.
His answer.
Councilman Marable.
The same? No. Yes.
Councilwoman Jones Bell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant Butler is absent. I vote in favor, so it's 6 days and 1 absent. Resolution, we're going to vote on this now. A resolution rejecting the appointment of Michael A. Hackett as temporary judge of the Orange Municipal Court. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second. Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Jones Bell. On the motion. Seeing none.
Councilman Marable, is he gonna, was there any outcome on what you requested? Did you get the documents or anything?
I'm not comfortable discussing this in an open meeting. If you want to take other measures to
We can
discuss
deal
it.
with it at the personnel meeting now. We have the personnel meeting coming. Roll call?
Councilmember Abdul Rashid.
I'm not in favor to reject him for the position.
So no.
No. Not in favor?
A yea or nay?
He said no.
No, not in favor.
Okay. Councilmember Corbett.
No.
Councilmember Eason.
Abstain?
Councilmember Grant Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones Bell.
A pass.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
No.
1 yea.
Councilwoman Jones Bell.
Council, I'm sorry, Council.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So, did it pass or not?
Two yeas, 3 Three,
Three noes, right?
yes, 3 nays, 2 yays,
One abstention, so it does pass.
1 abstention and 1 absent.
So it passes.
Pass. And I think,
Yeah. He will be
no, he wasn't rejected. Just for clarification, he was not rejected.
But that doesn't mean he was approved. We have to,
We have to
right,
move.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Let's start the
Is there,
process all over again.
we want to, do we want to continue to post 362-2013? This was postponed. A resolution authorizing, council members, I just want to remind everybody that these microphones magnify to your voice, so when the person is doing minutes, if several people are talking, they're going to get a lot of background noise. 362-2013, which is a resolution postponed from November 6, 2013 council meeting. A resolution authorizing Prime Point HRMS and payroll to process electronic payroll disbursements and payroll agency obligations for the City of Orange Township pursuant to NJAC 5:30-17. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Abdul-Rashid, second by Councilwoman Jones-Bell. On the motion. Yes, sir.
Council, so if we vote affirmative or negatively, this is for the resolution, for the contract in and of itself.
Yes.
Okay, I'm clear. I'm prepared to vote.
Anybody else? Roll call.
Councilmember Abdul-Rashid.
In favor?
Councilmember Corbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Easton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grant Butler is absent. Councilmember Jones-Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marable.
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
Passes 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Oh, before we adjourn, Attorney Smith, we're going to have to do a committee meeting to kind of iron this out. So before the implementation of this, so we'll have to do a minority of the council members to kind of go through and make a recommendation of the council to iron out the policies and all of this. Because actually, specifically, Mr. Matt wrote a letter, a memo regarding some of the questions that the council members asked for, and specifically, item number 4 is a policy issue in terms of who, so we just need to sit down. Everybody had a memo? Oh, I'll give it to,
I gave her a copy. She talking about something
no,
different.
that's the memo you had.
Yeah, I gave it to her. She made copies.
As far as vacation days and that nature, somebody has to be designated in each department to track that.
What we said, we're going to make a minority of the council sit down, and we're going to work all these things out.
But Council President, just
Yes,
for
sir.
my clarity, but even, we passed this here, so they can still begin the process of what they need to do, but then we can make some policy suggestions, and hopefully the administration and the council will be aligned and compromise and work it out. Meanwhile, they're going to start up and running.
We're
Okay,
volunteering?
I'm clear.
Are you volunteering?
No, that's way over my pay grade.
I'll volunteer motion to adjourn.
No, I just want to finish this, Councilman Corbett, because this is coming up. Is there anybody that volunteer would like to meet with Attorney Smith to do the policy? What you were just talking about? You just said no.
I don't ask her to do too much.
Yes?
The policy, the policy.
Councilwoman Easton, Councilman Abdul-Rashid,
He wants Phil so he can
Husband and wife, just go ahead and do it.
Councilman Marable? No? Councilwoman Jones-Bell? You want to do it? Councilman Corbett, thank you. Okay. So,
Still a motion on the floor.
no, we haven't gotten there yet.
I'm there. Where you
I
at?
know, but there was not a second, so 03 can make sure you...
I'm not, no, I have not agreed to being on that committee. No.
Okay, can you two just do that?
We'll work with that.
Is
We
it-
don't need him.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Greenberg.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
Second.
some lawsuits.